Hello, Authority Gap listeners, and welcome to the Authority Gap podcast, the AI-hosted companion series for consulting firm founders and B2B expert-led service firms that want to become easier for buyers to understand, trust, recommend, and choose. In this episode, we're looking at deal mechanics, how Authority moves a buyer from signal to sales conversation to decision. And here's the question. What if the problem is not simply getting more signals into the market, but helping buyers move from attention to confidence to action? Okay, let's unpack this because right now, incredibly smart consulting firms are just running on a B2B marketing treadmill.
Oh, absolutely. They're sprinting, but not actually going anywhere.
Right. And I know this because, when I was reading through the source material for our deep dive today, I realized I've actually fallen for this exact illusion myself in the past. You look at your dashboard, the arrows are all green.
Yeah, the vanity metrics look great.
Exactly. You're sweating, you're generating a ton of LinkedIn connections, you're publishing articles every Tuesday without fail, you're even getting a few passive referrals. It really feels like you are doing everything right.
Right. It feels super productive.
But then you look at your pipeline or, your closed won column in the CRM and you realize you haven't actually traveled anywhere at all. The bank account hasn't moved. We are basically mistaking all this marketing activity for actual deal movement.
Which is, it's a very comfortable illusion to live in, right?
Yeah.
Because activity is something a firm can entirely control.
Yeah, you can just force it.
Exactly. You can mandate 3 blog posts a week. You can tell your team, send out 1,000 connection requests a month. But what is actually happening there is that the firm is confusing a momentary flash of attention with a buyer actually being ready to engage.
Oh, that's a huge distinction. Attention versus readiness.
Yeah. If we want to genuinely grow a consulting firm, we have to kind of look under the hood at the actual mechanics of how a buyer gets from that very first moment of awareness all the way to a signed contract. And that journey, it's fundamentally driven by reducing a buyer's perceived risk, not just, by shouting louder.
Well, let me stop you right there, though, because I actually want to challenge that premise a bit.
Sure, go for it.
Every major marketing framework out there right now, they all preach omnipresence. The whole idea is that if you are just everywhere, doing the podcast, dropping the newsletters, dominating the LinkedIn feed, eventually sheer volume forces a breakthrough.
Right, the old be everywhere strategy.
Yeah. If I am loud enough and I get enough attention, shouldn't that volume eventually convert into momentum just, by the law of averages?
Well, a volume of static is still just static. If your firm's narrative is broad, generic, or just confusing, turning up the volume simply amplifies that confusion.
So you're just being confusing, but louder.
Exactly. You aren't giving the buyer clarity. You're really just giving them more opportunities to be unsure about what you actually do. Buyers in the B2B consulting space, they do not engage just because a firm is persistent.
No, nobody likes being badgered.
Right. We have to look at their psychology. They are juggling competing priorities, massive budget constraints, and really intense internal politics. But above all, they are managing profound personal risk.
Wow. Yeah. Personal risk is a huge factor.
It is. Think about it. If a corporate VP hires the wrong enterprise transformation firm, it is their personal reputation and potentially their entire career on the line. Fear and uncertainty are the primary forces that actually stop deal movement.
Because they're terrified of making a bad call.
Exactly. A buyer will only engage when your firm's signals actively reduce the cognitive work they have to do and, importantly, the professional risk they carry.
So we aren't trying to generate noise. We are basically trying to engineer these little micro moments of trust. We really need to get off the treadmill and actually pave a path.
Precisely. We need to build a bridge, not a billboard.
Right. So the sources outline this path through 3 specific deal mechanics, which are signal, conversation, and decision. Let's pull these apart, starting with the very first hurdle. How do we accurately define a signal, and what separates it from a conversation?
So a signal is essentially the raw material. It is whatever the buyer sees, hears, reads, receives, or encounters.
Like a cold email or a post?
Exactly. That could be a website headline, an outreach note, a comment on a post, or even just a passing mention from a peer. It is just a fragment of information.
That's a data point. Okay.
Right. The second stage, the conversation, is entirely different. A conversation is the exact point where the buyer has gathered enough confidence, relevance, and curiosity to actively engage.
Okay, so it's a two-way street at that point.
Yes. It's the moment they actually reply to that outreach, or ask a substantive question, or take a serious next step, like booking a discovery call. And the failure point for most consulting firms lives right in that gap between the signal and the conversation.
Okay, let's put this under a microscope and look at a granular real-world example, because I think this is where the theory becomes really actionable for anyone listening. Let's invent a consulting firm. We'll call them Apex Supply Chain Solutions.
Okay, I like it. Apex.
Right. So Apex sends out a LinkedIn outreach note. That note is a signal. In scenario A, the buyer looks at it, hits accept, and then crickets.
Nothing happens.
Exactly. The signal just dies as passive awareness. But in scenario B, that exact same type of outreach message sparks a high-value $50,000 sales conversation. So what is the actual mechanical difference between those two signals?
What's fascinating here is that the mechanical difference comes down entirely to the mechanism of interpretation.
Interpretation, okay.
Yeah. Signals never speak for themselves. The buyer interprets the signal, and that interpretation is the hidden engine of deal mechanics. When a buyer reads an outreach message, they are silently running this rapid risk assessment in their head.
What are they asking themselves?
They're thinking, is this relevant to my immediate goals? Do they actually understand my specific bottleneck? Is there any proof they can fix it? And ultimately, is it safe to take a meeting?
Right. So in your scenario A, let's imagine the Apex signal says something like, we leverage synergistic paradigms to optimize enterprise supply chain workflows.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's rough.
Which sounds like every other consulting firm on the planet, right?
I mean, if I receive that, I have to spend 10 minutes decoding the corporate jargon just to figure out if they can actually help me speed up my shipping times.
And no buyer has the time for that.
Exactly. And honestly, I have 100 other emails to read today. The cognitive load is way too high, so I just close the tab. I move on.
And that cognitive load is the ultimate deal killer. If a signal lacks clear meaning or tangible proof, buyer doubt just takes over.
They just freeze.
Right. They don't usually send you a formal rejection email explaining why. They just stop moving. To fix this, your signal must explicitly connect to a bleeding neck problem the buyer already recognizes.
A bleeding neck problem. I love that. Yeah, it has to be urgent. And it must provide enough proof to make taking that next step feel incredibly safe.
So what does scenario B look like then? How do we workshop that terrible Apex message into a signal that actually sparks a real conversation?
You have to completely remove the guesswork.
Yeah.
So instead of synergistic paradigms, the signal in scenario B says something like, we help mid-market manufacturing CFOs stop bleeding cash from undocumented procurement leaks.
Oh, that is so much better.
Right. And then you add the proof. Here's a one-page diagnostic showing how we found $2 million for a client in your specific industry last month.
Boom. That's it.
Notice what happens there. The interpretation is done for the buyer. The relevance is immediate. The proof is literally attached. The perceived risk of taking a 15-minute call drops dramatically.
Because they know exactly what they're getting into.
Exactly. Confidence goes up. And confidence is the absolute prerequisite for a conversation.
I love the mechanics of that. You are basically lowering the drawbridge so they can actually cross the moat.
That's a great way to put it.
So let's say we know the signal. The risk is lowered, we get the meeting, and we enter that conversation stage. And let's imagine the discovery call goes incredibly well.
The dream scenario.
Right. We spend an hour with the VP of operations. They are nodding. They are furiously taking notes. They are verbally agreeing with our diagnosis of their pain points. We send over a stellar proposal. It feels like a massive victory.
But I sense a but coming.
But then the deal stalls. We get completely ghosted, or we get trapped in that we're reviewing it with the team purgatory. And this sets up the final stage of the mechanic, the decision.
Yes. The decision stage is perhaps the most misunderstood part of B2B consulting sales.
Why is that?
Because a decision is defined as the point where the buyer can confidently explain why your firm makes sense, defend the choice internally to their peers, and officially move the opportunity forward to a closed contract.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. I have to push back on you here, really challenge this dynamic.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because if I am an expert consultant, and I have just given this buyer a literal masterclass on their own business during an hour-long call, shouldn't the value just speak for itself?
You would think so, but no.
I mean, if the buyer is highly interested and the pain is real, why does the deal stall? Think about it like going to the theater. Let me use an analogy here.
Yeah, let's hear the theater analogy.
Imagine you go to see an incredibly complex, brilliant, mind-bending film all by yourself. You're sitting in the dark, you are captivated, you understand all the subtle themes. It's a great experience.
Right, you're totally bought in.
Exactly. But the next morning, you are standing by the coffee machine at work, and a skeptical coworker asks, "So, what was the movie actually about?"
I see where this is going.
Suddenly, you're stumbling over your words. You can't perfectly explain the plot. You completely butcher the nuance, and you end up just shrugging and saying, "Ah, it was good. You just have to see it."
Which is a terrible sales pitch.
Right, because it is incredibly easy to enjoy an experience yourself. But it is incredibly difficult to perfectly explain and defend it to a skeptic the next day. If I have to give my buyer a script for their own internal meetings, aren't I basically doing their job for them?
You are absolutely doing their job for them, and you have to, because they are not professional buyers of your specific service. They don't know how to sell your firm.
Oh, that is a brutal reality check. Because on the discovery call, I am there to explain the plot of the movie in real time. My expertise, my charisma, my ability to handle objections on the fly, that's all in the room. But when the call ends, I leave.
And the buyer is left entirely alone. In complex consulting sales, the person you are talking to almost never chooses alone.
Right, there's always a committee.
Even if they are the CEO, they have to face a board of directors. If they are a VP, they have to face a procurement committee, a CFO, or internal rivals who want to use the budget for something else.
So they have to pitch it internally.
Exactly. Your champion has to walk into a hostile internal meeting and explain why they should spend $100,000 on your firm instead of a cheaper competitor, or instead of just doing the project in-house.
So if I didn't prepare them, they're doomed.
If your firm relied purely on your charisma in that initial meeting, your buyer is walking into the boardroom completely empty-handed. They're standing at the coffee machine, unable to explain the plot.
And because no executive wants to look foolish or, propose an undefensible choice in front of their boss, they just retreat. They delay.
It's self-preservation.
Yeah, they tell us, we're still reviewing because doing absolutely nothing is politically safer for them than fighting a battle they aren't armed for. So how do we actually arm them?
You have to give them what the sources call portable authority.
Portable authority. Okay. What does that actually look like in practice? I want a concrete, Blinkist-level summary of what I am handing this buyer.
Portable authority is giving the buyer simple, transferable language and visible proof that allows them to justify the decision easily when you are miles away.
Okay, so it's not a 50-page slide deck.
No, absolutely not. A 50-page deck filled with your firm's history is useless in that moment. Portable authority is a highly condensed, easily memorized narrative. You're essentially giving them a one-page executive summary that answers 4 very specific questions.
Okay, I'm taking notes. What are the 4 questions?
Number 1, what is the exact bleeding neck problem? Number 2, why does it mathematically matter that we fix it right now?
So urgency and impact. Got it. What's 3?
Number 3, why is this specific consulting firm the only logical choice to fix it? And number 4, where is the undeniable proof that they can deliver?
Oh, wow. That's incredibly tight. So instead of a massive PDF, I give them a document that says, if we don't fix the supply chain bottleneck by Q3, we lose $2 million in spoiled inventory.
Perfect. That's questions 1 and 2.
And then for 3 and 4. Apex Solutions is the only firm with a proprietary diagnostic that finds the leak in 30 days. And here are 3 case studies where they did exactly that for our direct competitors.
That is portable authority. If your buyer can hold those 4 answers in their head and comfortably repeat them to a skeptical CFO without stuttering, you have armed them.
You've basically weaponized them for that meeting.
Exactly.
Right.
You haven't just persuaded them to buy, you have equipped them to sell on your behalf. This fundamentally shifts how you should view your entire content and sales ecosystem.
How so?
Every single case study, every proposal, every piece of diagnostic material shouldn't just be evaluated on, does this make us look smart?
Yeah.
It needs to be evaluated on, can my buyer easily repeat this narrative to someone who wants to say no?
Which brings us to the most practical application of this deep dive, using deal mechanics as a diagnostic lens.
Right, to figure out where things are breaking.
Exactly. If you are listening to this right now and you have a stalled pipeline, you don't need to burn down your entire marketing department and start from scratch. You just need to figure out which of these 3 bridges is out. How do we diagnose this?
You look at the exact point of friction. Let's say your dashboard shows high visibility.
Like lots of traffic and views.
Yeah, you have great website traffic, people are viewing your profile, you're getting the vanity metrics. But buyers are not replying to your outreach or booking discovery calls. Your breakdown is at the signal stage.
So they see me, but they don't care.
Right. Your signals are creating attention, but they are failing to create enough meaning, relevance, and safety for the buyer to actually take a risk. The prescription there is to stop trying to get more views and start fixing the clarity and proof within the message itself.
Okay, that makes sense. But what if my calendar is totally full? What if I am having like 3 discovery calls a week, the conversations are amazing, people are asking for proposals, but my close rate is absolutely abysmal?
Then your breakdown is in the transition from the conversation stage to the decision stage. You are highly persuasive in the room, but you are not giving the buyer enough internal justification to survive their own procurement process.
So I'm failing the coffee machine test.
Exactly. You lack portable authority. The gap isn't your lead generation. The gap is your decision support material. You need to focus entirely on building tools that help your champion defend you to their CFO.
So looking back at the whole journey we've mapped out today, getting off the B2B marketing treadmill requires a massive shift in perspective.
It really does. It's a whole new way of looking at it.
It means recognizing that more signals do not automatically equal more movement. We have to stop optimizing for attention and, start optimizing for confidence.
Because confidence is what actually moves the needle.
Right. We have to engineer our signals to be so clear and so completely de-risked that a buyer feels perfectly safe taking that first meeting. And then once we actually have that conversation, we can't just dazzle them with our brilliance and leave them hanging.
No, you can't abandon them.
We have to go back to our movie theater analogy. We have to write the plot script for them. We have to give them the portable authority, basically the armor they need, to walk into their internal boardroom and confidently defend why we are the only logical choice.
And that overarching philosophy changes everything about how a consulting firm operates. The goal is no longer just more activity. The goal is relentlessly smoothing out the movement from signal to conversation to decision.
So as you look at your own pipeline this week and you evaluate where your deals are actually stalling out, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over.
I love this part.
We spend so much of our time worrying about our competitors, or we stress about the boutique firm across town, or, the massive agency with the bottomless marketing budget. But what if your biggest competitor isn't another consulting firm at all? What if your biggest competitor is simply your own buyer's internal fear of making a choice they can't defend?
That is a very real possibility.
It really is. If you can use these deal mechanics to conquer that internal fear, you don't just beat the competition. You make the competition entirely irrelevant. If you want to know where your signal to decision path may be breaking, take the Custom Authority Gap Prescription Quiz. It takes about 2 minutes, shows you where your authority gaps may be, and gives you the option to participate in a discussion group led by Derek Little, author of The Authority Gap. The Authority Gap is available on Amazon. To get the Authority Gap Reader Preview Kit, including the field guide and preview chapters, visit the book page at trailblazermastery.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.